Greetings, it's Josiah with Simple Finance, and we make money simple. Today I want to walk you through the basics of how a credit card works and how I use credit cards in my personal life every day. First, you should always pay your card off in full, usually the statement balance. This avoids any penalties, late fees, or interest. And I believe that if you don't pay your credit card off consistently, that you should not have a credit card. I'm going to go through a couple terms so you're familiar with them. The statement period. What is the statement period? This is the statement you get in the mail or email that typically runs around 30 days. And what it does is it tracks all your transactions, purchases, returns, fees, payments that you made during that period. It also shows you your total balance, the minimum payment due, and the due date. Which leads us to the second thing, the payment due date. This is typically around 21 to 25 days after the end of the statement period. This is called your grace period, during which you can pay your balance without incurring interest, as long as you pay the statement balance by the end of that grace period, the due date. Now there's 5 different payment amounts that you can do with a credit card. And I'm going to go through each one and tell you which one I do and the best. The first one is the no payment made. If you just ignore the statement, don't pay anything on it, you'll incur late fees, you'll incur interest, and your card will be considered past due and reported negatively towards your credit score as a missed payment and that the card is now past due. If you do this enough or for long enough, the credit card issuer might shut off your card, stop you from being able to use it, or send you to collections. This is the worst payment option to do. The second one is the minimum payment. This is the smallest amount you must pay to avoid late fees and to keep your account in good standing. It's usually a percentage of your balance or a set dollar figure, such as $35. By paying only the minimum, you still accrue interest on the remaining balance. Your card is reported to the credit agencies as current and won't negatively affect your credit score by itself. But if your balance gets too high in comparison to your total available credit, your score could be negatively affected. This is called the credit utilization ratio, and it's one of the things that people look at when figuring out what their credit score would be. The minimum payment isn't the worst option, but it's certainly not the best. If you're thinking, should I pay the minimum or no payment? At least pay the minimum. That is your bottom line. The next one is a full or current payment. This is basically you pay everything. You pay the entire balance by the due date. You avoid all interest charges, late fees, or any other penalties or negative credit score effects. This pays all charges that were made within the statement period and any subsequent charges that you made since the close of the statement period. Basically, any of the payments the transactions you made during the grace period. So this amount is actually bigger than the statement balance, which we'll get to in a second. The fourth one is the partial payment. You can pay more than the minimum, but less than the full balance or the statement balance. While it reduces your balance, and you probably will avoid late fees, you'll still be charged interest on the remaining balance. The fifth one, and in my opinion the best one, this is the one I use, is the statement balance. This is the number that the credit card statement sends you that says statement balance. This is what you should pay to pay off and be in good standing with us. This is paying all the transactions that happened during the statement, those 30-ish days. This avoids all interest, all late fees, and any negative credit score reporting effects. Finally, I want to walk you through what late fees and interest are. Many people will know this, but we want to make sure that we don't incur either of these items. These are what kill people in credit cards. First off is a late fee. If you miss a payment and the payment due date happens to come along, and you failed to at least pay the minimum payment, you'll incur a late fee. These fees can kill you and can add up immensely, especially on a small balance comparatively to an interest. They range from $25 to $40 depending on your credit card issuer. But I will say, if it's your first time missing, let's say you just forgot about your credit card and you got hit with a late fee and it's your first time, I would highly recommend calling the card issuer and seeing if they'll waive it. Many will for the first time. Secondly, there's interest. This is what gets a lot of people in trouble with their credit card because it starts to rack up very quickly. Basically, you incur interest if you carry a balance past the due date, i.e. when it was due. This remaining amount will accrue interest, and the interest will accrue interest over time. But it accrues interest based on the card's annual percentage rate, the APR. Interest is charged daily typically, and the longer you carry a balance, the more you'll pay in interest. Finally, I want to tell you exactly what I do for my credit cards every month, because I do use credit cards. I have a couple, but I always pay the statement balance in full every month. I avoid all interest and late fees. I do get credit travel points and cash back as rewards. But it's very important to remember this. Rewards are never worth it if you're going to pay late fees and interest. A credit card company does not stay in business because they hand out rewards to people all day. No, they can hand out rewards to people who pay their balance and use their cards because of people who pay interest and late fees. It is never worth to keep a card for the rewards if you pay interest and late fees. I also watch my spending on a credit card. There's studies out there that says that spending on plastic versus cash makes people spend more money. Now, my counter to that is I budget very strictly. So I use my credit card, but I do not spend more than what I've budgeted in my spending categories. For example, restaurants. I'm a big person who loves to eat out, spend a lot of money in eating out, but I've budgeted a certain amount and I don't go over that. That's how I restrain myself by using the plastic instead of cash. I also deduct every transaction, credit card transaction, out of my checking account or out of my checkbook register as soon as I do the transaction. What does that do for me? Well, my checkbook register tracks my balance in my bank account that I pay my credit card from. And as I use my credit card, I deduct it directly out of that account. What it does is it makes sure that I always have cash available to pay the credit card bill when it comes. When the credit card company sends me a bill in the mail, I then adjust my checkbook register and I add back in my statement balance into my account to give me back my money to pay my bill. And then my next line item, I did make the payment. So I deduct it back out. So I'm careful not to deduct my credit card transactions twice out of my bank account. I only do it once because of the offsetting entry. It's a good habit to have, and it helps me remember not to overspend on my credit card and to make sure I always have the cash available to pay my credit card. I hope this overview of credit cards has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to walk you through how I do it more. And remember, as always, to keep money simple.